I could possibly be in the future of racing. This behind me here is Roborace. It's a brand new autonomous racing series that's just coming out. We're going to speak to a lady called Victoria, and she's going to fill us in on basically how the cars work, the series, and lots of things like that. It should be absolutely fascinating because this really could be the future of racing.
It's part of a racing series called Roborace. So what F1 is to racing cars, we are to autonomous vehicles essentially. So Roborace is providing a platform for companies to then put their software in our cars and then race each other. That is the principle behind it. And the idea why we're doing it is to increase the rate of development for autonomous vehicles and autonomous technology, to bring it to our roads quicker, because we know that it's going to make the roads safer in the long run.
Well, how long has it been in development from an idea to where you are now?
Okay, so it's been in development for about 2.5 years. We first decided to do it. The Robocar was launched last February. It's been in testing and development since then. This is its first official public outing. No pressure, we're just going to do it in front of millions of global viewers at one of the most difficult tracks in probably the world. So we usually do demonstrations with our other car, which is called DevBot. We do that with Formula E on their tracks around the world. It's a very different environment. So the Formula E tracks, of course, have barriers directly on the circuit. So the way our cars see is they use a variety of sensors around the car to give them 360-degree vision. So they use machine vision cameras, LiDARs, radars, ultrasonic sensors, GPS. So basically when it's driving on a Formula E track, there's always a constant reference point, so it knows where it is at all times on both sides. But of course, at Goodwood, this is not the case. So there's all sorts of different obstacles. There's hay bales, which it's never seen before. There's bridges, there's grandstands, there's all sorts of things. So we've had to train the car. What's a drivable surface, what's not a drivable surface, what a hay bale looks like, what scrimmage looks like, etc. So it's been a huge different challenge. Also, the hill's mainly covered in trees. So GPS is very, very difficult to use. In fact, nigh impossible to use.
So out of all the sensors, how many does it need? So if like the GPS fails, will it carry on?
So we can run the car purely on GPS if we want to. If you have completely clear skies, like at Silverstone, where there's nothing, no tree coverage whatsoever, we could run it purely on LiDARs, which we did do in Hong Kong at the Formula E, because like I say, it's got these two barriers, so the lasers always have a reference point the whole way around the track. What we'll be doing here at Goodwood is using the LiDARs with the machine vision cameras. So the LiDARs will detect those objects. When it does have walls, when it does have hay bales, it will see those. When neither of those are in existence, the machine cameras can see whether it's tarmac or grass, so that it doesn't run off at those points.
And what sort of power are these things, the performance of these vehicles?
So they're all electric. They have four independent motors, and they're around 500 brake horsepower.
So they're quite quick, they can't weigh. Do you know what the weight of them is, roughly?
Just under a ton.
So they're pretty
nippy. So top speed is around, this isn't what we're doing this weekend, but top speed is around 320 kilometres an hour.
And when are you looking at sort of this coming out as a competitive series? When will we see it, say, on TV, or when go to a circuit and actually see this racing?
Yep, so we're working towards a season alpha, which we're hoping will be next year. At the moment we're planning to use the DevBot cars for that. It means that it gives us the opportunity to involve human drivers as well as we call them AI drivers that we have in these cars. It means that we can kind of combine the two. So in Berlin at Formula E recently we did a time attack challenge where we had a human driver set a fastest time. He got out of the car and then the car drove itself and set a fastest time, and then we amalgamated the two times.
Who was quicker?
So we didn't do it human versus machine, it was two teams of a human and a machine. So we did it with two universities. So it was really interesting actually. I've just had a discussion with someone saying if they all see the same map and they all know like what the optimum is, how can there be any difference? But actually between the two universities there was quite a differential in how the car drove and how fast it went and the two times, because they interpret the data differently. So they get the same data sets, but then how they interpret it and how they choose to make the car drive is very different. It almost gives it a characteristic. So a bit like a human driver is two human drivers, so a Jenson Button and a Michael Schumacher might look at the same track, they've got all the same information, they know how fast those corners are to take, they know what racing line they should be taking, but they will drive it differently.
Brilliant. I look forward to seeing it going up the hill.
Fabulous.
All right, thank you
very much.
Cheers,
Nice
thanks.
to meet you.
All right.